The jury has officially begun deliberation in the Brian Walshe murder trial, and now they're going to decide if Brian Walshe is guilty of either first or second-degree murder. Brian was initially charged with first-degree murder after police realized that he had lied to them about his wife's disappearance, and instead of his wife disappearing, Brian had dismembered her and put her in various dumpsters. The first-degree murder charge requires an element of premeditation, which means that Brian would have taken a moment to pause and reflect before actually killing Anna. But the jury also now has the option to find Brian guilty of a lesser charge of second-degree murder. There is no premeditation element for this charge. The Commonwealth only has to prove two things beyond a reasonable doubt: that Brian Walshe caused the death of Anna Walshe, and that he either intended to kill Anna Walshe or intended to cause her grievous bodily harm. This last Section C does not apply to this situation. Second-degree murder can also be an act where a defendant knew the act could result in somebody's death and still did it anyway, like throwing a rock off a bridge onto a highway or firing a gun into a crowd. You don't intend to kill a specific person, but your action will likely result in death. That is not what we're talking about here, so it's going to be one of these first two options. And just a reminder, here are the elements of first-degree murder. The defendant caused the death of Anna Walshe, that the defendant intended to kill Anna Walshe, and that he committed the killing with deliberate premeditation, that is, he decided to kill after a period of reflection. The jury will get one verdict slip with three different options on it. Option 1 is not guilty at all. Option 2 is guilty of the offense as charged, which is first-degree murder with premeditation. And option 3 is guilty of murder in the second degree. The jury must pick one of those options unanimously, or else it will be a hung jury. This is an extremely important reminder over what the jury is actually deciding. The jury is not deciding if Anna died of natural causes or because of actions by Brian. Their decision is really going to come down to, do they believe that Brian intentionally killed Anna with premeditation, or, for second degree, do they believe that Brian intentionally killed Anna and no accident was possible? Now that they've added this charge, I think it's pretty likely that they're going to find Brian guilty of at least second degree, if not first degree. But I also want to point out, if anybody on the jury believes that it's possible that Brian accidentally killed Anna that evening, that second degree does not apply. That would be involuntary manslaughter. And that is not an option. The only options are first degree, second degree, or not guilty. In closing arguments, the defense was basically like, there was no intent or premeditation proven by the Commonwealth. And also they kept reiterating how loving of a husband Brian was and how there was no blood found in the bedroom. At one point, Brian's lawyer was like, if he actually murdered his wife, wouldn't his searches have said murder way earlier? No, instead they just said, how do I dispose of a body? I don't think the closing was effective at all for the defense. But the Commonwealth's closing was very effective. They lined up all of the evidence and explained how they want the jury to interpret it, and that the circumstantial evidence shows that Brian intentionally killed Anna Walshe with premeditation. They also said this sentence that made me cry very hard, and they showed the very last photo taken of Anna to the jury as they made this closing sentence. She said, please don't let Brian Walshe get away with this just because he did the self-serving act of throwing away his wife's body in dumpsters. That's Anna and Jem and Anna's little boy. The jury began deliberating right around 12:30 Eastern. I cannot predict how long it will take. They have a lot of evidence they have an option to look at. They can look at all of the searches. There are 3,000 documents of internet history. Also, all of the texts from December 27th between Anna and William, her affair partner, are in for the jury, but we haven't seen them. These are texts where they were having intimate conversations, and they don't want to show the public that, but they had basically argued that Brian Walshe likely saw her text exchange with William Fastow on the 27th. So that was another element of premeditation that doesn't get brought up a lot, but it does exist. And again, we don't know what's in the text that Brian could have seen. At 2 o'clock Eastern, which is 30 minutes from when I'm filming this, I'm going to be back live streaming again. We're on verdict watch. Because of the amount of evidence, I don't know if they'll come to a verdict today, but it is possible. Anything is possible. Anybody who is telling you they know exactly how long this jury will deliberate is lying to you. Every jury is different. You just can't know. So if you would like to watch with me at 2 o'clock Eastern, I'll be live streaming again. That's everything for now. Love you guys. Drink water. Bye.